Hi everyone, I'm Emma, and just under 4 years ago, at the age of 29, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. I can't actually control my own slides because my hands are shaking too much, so someone's controlling them for me. It's you. That's where I need to look. Thank you. I'm going to do this every time I need it, controlling it. Thank you. And I want to talk to you about what Parkinson's has taught me during that time. It's very subtle. So I was diagnosed just under 4 years ago at the age of 29. I wasn't expecting Parkinson's. No one is at that age. No one is if you're a girl under a particular age. I think it's quite rare for women to get it, and it's definitely rare for 29-year-old women to get it. I'd had a strange feeling in my right arm for a long time, something that I couldn't pin down to anything in particular. And I'd been ignoring it. And it was eventually that my dad said to me, go to the doctors, get it sorted. You need to get this sorted, it's really important. And I did, and they took me for brain scans, and I thought, ooh, we're getting serious now. This is getting a bit kind of risky territory. But I'm still thinking probably a trapped nerve or carpal tunnel at worst. I was never thinking anything more serious. And the brain scans, while I was waiting for them, they said to me, it could be Parkinson's disease, it could be Huntington's disease, or it could be Wilson's disease. And in the weirdest thing that anyone's probably ever thought, I was rooting for Parkinson's because the other ones you die from, and I wasn't ready to die. This was eventually my diagnosis date. It took a little while to get there, but it was actually a day that for me was a day of decisiveness and not a day of sadness. It was a day where I knew how to move forward and how to proceed with things. It was also a day that I had my family around me. We went on a fun family day out that day because we were all together and we just thought, we're here, let's do something fun. And it became a day that I knew where my support network were and that they were around me and they were there for good to help me. And every text I got one more positive in return. One of my juniors at work sent me a text saying, trust you to get an old person's disease. And I thought, great, that's the level we're going for. We're back to normal immediately. There's 127,000 people currently in the UK living with Parkinson's disease. I am just one of those people. But I've been given an opportunity to tell my story countless times, and I think that's because I put a slant on it that is a positive one. It's definitely easier for people to digest, but it's also made it easier for me to come to terms with it. Because ultimately, I was dealt this big, old, ugly package of Parkinson's, and I thought, what am I going to do with it? I've got to find out what to do with it to make my life good and make my life strong and to make decisions for myself. And I realised that actually I couldn't change what was happening to me. I had a lack of dopamine in my system, and that is something that is a massive deal. If anyone knows anything about Parkinson's, Parkinson's causes a lack of dopamine, a chemical which controls temperature, mood, your movements, the way your brain communicates with every single muscle in your body. So you're fighting a battle against your brain, essentially, and you're not going to win. But I thought, I can repackage this. I work in branding. I can repackage this and actually make it something that works for me and that I enjoy. So I'm still dealing with the same thing, but I'm dealing with it in a way that leads me to positivity and happiness, ultimately. And I'd love to share with you the ways that I've actually found happiness in something as big as Parkinson's. And some of that is through what I'm wearing. I mean, obviously this makes me happy. So I'm going to share with you my 10 ways to find happiness when it really doesn't want to be found. These are the 10 ways that I've looked at what I have as a situation and actually made it my own and made it something that I'm happy and proud of. Don't look for happiness. Ultimately, if you go searching for it, you're not going to find anything long term. I've looked for it in the form of men on white horses carrying, armour and things like that. I've looked for it in the bottom of Haagen-Dazs tubs. I've looked for it at the bottom of the scrolling page on ASOS. I've looked everywhere for it. And ultimately, you find happiness for a fleeting time with those things, but happiness comes from within. And I know that's a massive, massive cliche, and probably everyone's told you it 1,000 times. But if you're happy in yourself and who you are, then you promote happiness to other people, and that comes back to you sevenfold. The people around you will be happier as well. Never bring a prop on stage when you have Parkinson's. Can't be trusted. It's okay to say you're having a shit day. It's okay to not be okay, you know? You can bake, there's that old saying which I love, which is you can cover a turd in glitter, but it will still be a turd, essentially. If you experience the worst of days, then you'll experience the best of days. You have to feel that unhappiness to feel the happiness that you get from a good day and from good things that are happening in your life. And ultimately, by saying to people, I'm having a terrible day, I'm being honest, and by actually being someone that has to go out and talk about Parkinson's, I'm doing everyone a misjustice if I'm selling it as something that's amazing and, it's all about tinsel tops and things like that. It's not. It's actually incredibly hard. But by being honest with people, they know how to treat me. They know what I expect from them, what I do and don't want help with. And it kind of makes it easier for all of us, because every time I tell someone I have Parkinson's, I know it breaks their heart a little bit. It may be the 10th time that I'm telling someone, but it's the first time they're hearing it. Be impatient with yourself, not with other people, because that does not lead to happiness on anyone's time. Be impatient with yourself and don't settle. I could have very easily hidden in a corner, put my slippers on, sat on a chair, done nothing for the rest of my life, and everyone probably wouldn't have judged me for it because it's a big thing to deal with. But I do more now than I've ever done before, and that is because I feel like I have nothing to lose. What's the worst that can happen? I'll get Parkinson's. Done that, it's all right. It's all right. So because of that, I kind of go out and do more than ever before, and I would encourage other people to do the same. Live as if it's the last opportunity you're going to have to do something. Say yes more. I mean, I say yes too much, and to be fair, I need to say no a little bit more because I don't sleep ever. But it's definitely a great opportunity to try new things when you suddenly get thrown into a situation where you're dealing with something so new. Remember that everyone is going through something as well. Like, it might be something tiny to you, but it might be something massive to them. And actually, by being kind to other people and realising that, the guy that pushes past you on the train, he might have had a really rubbish day at work. The woman that's kind of letting her child cry in the corner and you're stood there tutting at them, they might have just found out someone in their family's passed away. You don't know what's happening in their lives. And actually, by being more tolerant of others, it makes you happier in yourself. I suddenly realised as someone in London, it's an incredibly fast-paced place. Everyone's rushing to get somewhere and rushing to do something and pushing other people out of the way. And it's nice to take the time to just kind of consider what other people are feeling. And that tolerance comes back to you like a boomerang, because if you're kind to other people, people are ultimately kind to you. It takes sometimes a little while to get there, and it might not be the same person that's kind to you, but it comes back to you eventually. Wear flat shoes. I cannot stress this enough. If you have unhappy feet, you have an unhappy mind, and that's all I can say about the matter. I've got a slight heel on today. I mean, we're talking like tiny, and it's upsetting me slightly. Wear trainers whenever you can, because it's just, when you get diagnosed with something like Parkinson's, you can wear them to clubs and you can get away with murder. It's fantastic. But some people are trotting around town all the time in heels, and I feel sorry for them. I feel sorry that they have to wear heels all the time, because no one is happy in heels. No one. And if they're saying they are, they're lying. I like to say this sentence to myself because I think I've been very, very lucky in the people that I have around me. But I found my port in a storm before the winds came. I knew who my people were before I needed them, and that meant that when I looked for them, they were there, and I knew that I was sorted and sturdy and supported. Sometimes if you think people are going to be there, you're not 100% sure until you actually need them, whether they are. You might not have been there for them in the past. They might hold a grudge. And actually having a support network when something bad's happening or when good stuff's happening is really, really incredibly important. It's great to stand on your own, but it's also really important to make sure you have a team around you that are there cheering you on. Don't grow up. I don't mean like die or anything, because we're not going to go that dark, but I mean don't be a grown-up. Run around, do what you can, enjoy yourself. Wearing trainers definitely helps for that, I find. But people don't laugh at silly things enough. I've been laughing in my head at the name Trump since this whole fiasco happened. And I feel like I'm the only one that's doing that, and I'm hoping there's other people in this room that are doing that every time as well. Great, that lady's nodding, fantastic. It's kind of running on the grass when you're not supposed to, and doing stupid things, and wearing tops like this when you're supposed to be a grown-up. And it just, when suddenly you're dealt something that's really massive, you realise that actually you can't be ashamed of yourself anymore. You have to kind of just get on with being yourself and doing what you do, and it's incredibly freeing. But I think children have it right. They have it set in their minds what they want to do. They're just going to do it. They're going to have fun. And as we grow up, that kind of gets shaken out of us a little bit. And this man's socks here are filling me with great joy because he's a man that likes colour, and we should wear more colour and be happy and be children at heart. Don't sweat the small stuff, but really appreciate the small stuff that you can do. I would say I never really appreciated steady hands, a firm handshake, being able to talk clearly until those things became more difficult for me. So don't get hung up on the day-to-day little things if you possibly can, but appreciate the things that you take for granted. I hug someone now and it feels like I'm about to attack them because it's all kind of, or I'm frisking them or something, and it's great to know that you can go into a room and feel confident and present yourself confidently, and having something like Parkinson stops that from happening. But I now appreciate the things that I can do so much more than I ever could before. So the tiny things that I'm left with, that I know I can still do, being able to stand up in front of a room of people, fill me with so much joy and happiness because I can still do it. Screw it, I'm going to do it for as long as I can. Find something that is your cause of what you want to stand up for in life and stand up for it. Mine is slightly narcissistic because it's Parkinson's. I mean, that's ridiculous. I should have other causes that I look up to as well. But actually, before I was diagnosed, I didn't really fight for anything. Now I fight for my own life, my own existence, and what I want to do in my life. And I fight for others, and I am a kind of mouthpiece for those people as well. And it's made me realise there are other causes out there that I could lend myself to, and I could do more for them. Maybe not be such a narcissist, but I never had anything that I cared about that passionately before. I never did charity work, I never did anything like that. And being diagnosed has made me realise that we have an opportunity to do those things to help people. We have a mouth, we have arms, we can do things to help people. Oh. And finally, my point is, I stand in front of you as someone who physically looks nervous, looks scared, perhaps might seem a little bit frightening if you're in London and you see someone shaking. In the times that we're in at the moment, everyone's kind of aware of what everyone else is doing and keeping an eye on people. But if you look into my eyes and you hear me speak, you know who I am and you see me as a person. And I have the opportunity that I can tell my story and people know who I am, but a lot of people don't have that opportunity. So it's knowing that the body is just a shell for the good stuff that's inside. The brain and the heart is where the important stuff happens. That's the magic. And it's looking into people's eyes when you talk to them. It's being more tolerant of people and knowing that we're all the same ultimately. But I have been left with a fantastic Parkinson's situation out of my slightly rubbish package that I was given at the beginning, and that is not a different package. That is what I was given to start with. I was given Parkinson's. I haven't changed that in any way. There's no way I can change that. My chemical makeup is still the same. But the way that I see it is completely different. The way that I feel about Parkinson's is completely different. The way I feel about the world is completely different. And I would just implore you to look at your own situation and see if there's anything you can do to make yourself happier, because being happy is an incredible thing, and ultimately it's in our hands. Thank you.